Hey, welcome to the Micheaux Mission, 2 Men, 1 podcast, every black film ever made. My name is Len, a.k.a. the Bat Tribble. And as always, I'm joined by my partner.
Hey, this is Vincent Williams.
Tonight, ladies and gentlemen, we are kicking off a brand new feature here on the mission. And this will be a new annual feature as it is September, which historically is time for back to school.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
So in thinking about that, the Micheaux Mission is going doc to school.
Ooh.
As we will be reviewing black documentaries in September this year and going forward on the mission. So we've been listening to all of you that have been saying, when are you going to do some documentaries?
When are you going to do some documentaries?
Not that we haven't done a few already.
We have. They have been peppered.
Yes. But now...
periodically throughout our tenure.
And they'll still continue to be peppered a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
But September...
Pepper.
Yes. We'll grind them out every once in a while. But September is when we give you the full doc to school experience.
Yes.
And we are kicking things off tonight with a classic documentary that more than a few of the missionaries have requested from 1990. It is Paris is Burning.
Yes.
A look in the ball culture of the late 80s in New York City.
Yes.
All right?
Yes.
So before we go there, I want to give a shout out and a thanks to everyone who is joining us as we are streaming live from Young Junk here in Manayunk, Philadelphia's premier video podcast palace. And shout out to everyone out there who are in the chat as we stream to YouTube and Facebook. I see Aaron Fry, Deborah Battle, George Kimona, Farrell Blackwell. I mean, everyone is out there. Robert Monroe Jr. Shout out to each and every one of you. Hello.
Good evening, one and all.
Vincent, how are you doing today?
I'm fine. It's hot here in Philadelphia, but
I know.
You know.
Yeah, I don't know about where you are, ladies and gentlemen, but it has been in the mid to upper 90s since yesterday.
Yeah, since yesterday. But I'm good. I'm good. You know, moving into fall.
That's right.
And you? How are you, sir?
I'm doing pretty good.
Good to hear.
I'm doing pretty well. I had a fun experience over the holiday weekend.
Okay.
I had a cookout at my sister's house, and my best friend, frequent listener to the show, Calvin.
What's up, Calvin?
He came over to join us in the cookout. Him and his daughter, and Calvin and my nephew, my older nephew Jamal. They are huge wrestling fans.
Okay.
And apparently there was a wrestling pay-per-view that day.
Right.
So they sat and watched the wrestling pay-per-view together. And when they sit and watch the wrestling pay-per-view, I usually sit with them and watch it, and I just make snide jokes.
Of course.
But what I learned is that, have you ever heard of fanatics? Not like wild, absurd fans.
Okay.
But the company Fanatics.
No.
Fanatics is a company that does licensed like clothing and paraphernalia.
Okay.
Primarily for the NBA.
Okay.
They also have an NFL license.
Okay.
Right? So, but they recently signed WWE, the Wrestling Federation, as one of their licensees.
Okay.
So, during this pay-per-view, they debuted that now, because they hold a wrestling license alongside an NFL license.
Okay.
That for the first time ever, you can get a custom worldwide wrestling championship belt.
Okay.
But that is decorated by your NFL team.
Okay.
So you could get like a Philadelphia Eagles
wrestling
championship belt.
Okay.
The two of them went bananas when they saw this, because
Okay,
they both
fair
are
enough.
NFL fans,
Sure.
wrestling fans. It was two great tastes that taste great together. They were like, oh my God. They immediately ran to the Fanatics website to purchase a Philadelphia Eagles belt for my nephew Jamal and the Chicago Bears belt for Calvin.
Okay.
How much do you think these belts were going for?
$250 each.
$250 each would have been the perfect amount for Jamal, but he said anything over that is too much.
Okay, but it was more than that.
They were starting at $500.
Yeah, that tracks.
Starting at $500.
Dude, who was I just talking to about this? This sort of. I mean, obviously your nephew Jamal doesn't, or maybe he does. How old is Jamal?
He's in his 40s.
Okay, then he does. This demographic of Gen X, like later older millennials who still are very involved in their hobbies, and this stuff that is marketed to us is absolutely fascinating to me. Like $1,000 Transformers. Like if you see like the Optimus Prime,
the huge Optimus Prime that actually transforms into a
or if you've walked past a Lego store in the past year and you just see the Lego sets. Like I have to say, I salivate over there's a Tim Burton Bat Cave.
Yes, I've
that
seen
they
it.
have in the window at the Lego store.
I've seen
that's
it.
like $300 or $400. There was a Black Panther
mask. The mask. Yeah,
that was, what was that? $300.
Yep.
But there's a market.
I know.
There's a market. The 90s MC Kwame, Polka Dot Man, has this feature on his social media called Toy Tuesday. Where he kind of showcases all of this stuff. I collect the Marvel Legends.
Yes,
the action figures, the Marvel Legends, and they had Hasbro makes them, and Hasbro Lab is like the boutique, the boutique wing of the Marvel Legends. They had like a Galactus that was like $1,000, and
does it actually eat the Earth?
I mean, it's huge. It comes with like 2 other figures. It lights up.
A Silver Surfer, probably.
It comes with the silver. It comes with all of the heralds. I saw one at a comic convention last year, I think. Like, saw it. And it is beautiful, but, some people have it. Some people, look.
Well,
did Calvin get it?
Calvin had it.
Good for you, Calvin.
Calvin.
Good for you, Calvin.
Calvin, he's actually going to Chicago for a game, so he's got his belt.
Look, man, I'm all for it. And like the sneakerheads, like the real sneakerheads. So I love it.
What's your twist? Because you got a besides the Marvels, you got a bit of a collector thing going.
Well, I keep it. I always say, I say this about my friend, shout out to my boy Chris Randolph, he always talks about being a dilettante, like the actual definition of a dilettante. Like I dabble.
Okay.
Like I dabble. So like you would say I'm a collector until an actual collector walks in the room.
Okay.
Like I said, I collect Marvel Legends until like Hasbro Labs sends out them emails about, if you put down $250. You're like, all right, I'm not.
You're not that.
Right. Like I like sneakers, but then, the dead stock people start showing up and like, all right, I'm not doing all that. So like, I don't really have a thing like that.
No.
To that level.
No.
I'm just fascinated by it.
Okay.
You got any?
I'm not. I told you, I don't know if we ever talked about it on the show. I recently made an insane purchase for me for a legitimately one of a kind comic book.
Yeah.
But that is probably the extent of it. Like, I'm a huge Batman fan, but I don't need everything Batman.
Sure. Sure.
I might be the dabbler's assistant.
Yeah. Yeah.
So no, I don't get down like that.
Yeah. Right, because you sent me that link to the Miracle Man.
Oh, that Miracle Man,
right.
Like binded.
That binded
book.
Yeah, but I mean that's another bit. Like we say, we collect comics until the comic collectors walk in the room, and they're like, "Whoa, I'm a dilettante. Like I'm not
Yeah.
You know, like,
And that thing was beautiful, man.
Right,
And
but
he only made 10 of them.
you know, I got kids and a mortgage. And,
Yeah, you got kids in college.
Right, so.
Yeah.
But God bless them. Very happy for you, Calvin.
I am very happy for him too. I can't wait for it to come and
But I want to see a picture of
all
it.
the pictures. And
Yeah.
I wonder if he's going to get like Chicago Bears tights and do the whole wrestling thing. I wouldn't be surprised.
Please let him do that.
You know, you want people to do that, but you would never do it.
Of course I would never do it. But I fully support people who would. I love y'all, man.
No, you don't. No, you don't. You just want us for your enjoyment. That's all you love.
Oh, boy. We'll be talking about the difference between ritual and spectacle later in the show.
All right, let's keep the train moving, ladies and gentlemen.
Okay.
It is time for missives from the missionaries.
So what else is going on, Lynn?
We have emails, Vincent.
Ooh, missives from the missionaries. Ooh. Ooh. Ooh, missives from the missionaries.
Mrs. from the missionaries, ladies and gentlemen. We've got emails
Nice.
coming in, Vincent. I'm just looking in the chat. I see that Sean Simmons showed up.
Hey.
Hey, what's up, Sean? And Ariel Johnson is there in the building.
Yes.
In the building. Look at that.
You gonna miss somebody because it scrolls up, so you'll miss somebody, and it's just. Do we need to talk about Miss Sally?
No, but Sean and Ariel are not always there. So
all right.
they're
But see if
new.
somebody
so
who's
I'm acknowledging them.
All right, we love everybody.
We do love everyone.
Thank you, everyone, for.
But sometimes people,
Okay, just go ahead. Just.
I think you make a little bit too much of that.
I'm telling you, this is how you get a supervillain origin story. This is exactly.
You think Mr. Glass is in the chat?
Look, so much confusion could have been avoided if Mr. Incredible wasn't a dick. Like, so much. What's his name? Came up to him as a little boy. Mr. Hey, get away from here, kid. Fuck you. And kicked him in the face.
It was in the middle of there was a crime afoot.
Look, circle back around. Talk to the kid. Make him your assistant. Obviously, he has skills.
Well, fair enough.
Whole stuff could have been avoided.
That could have been.
And Mr. Incredible didn't mean any harm. Like you said, he was fighting supervillains and stuff going on.
Yes.
And, you know, Elastigirl is somewhere and he got on like tights and she real stretchy. So he's thinking about that. Like the dude had stuff on his mind. Like you completely understand how it happened. But if he'd have just taken a moment.
Let me get to this email.
Go ahead. Good evening, everyone. Everyone. We love everyone. Go ahead.
Not gonna give your brother a shout out?
Sit.
I mean, it's sitting right there. Go ahead.
Dude,
Go ahead.
kidnapped the baby at the end.
Go ahead.
Like he kidnapped Jack. Said, I'm going to raise Jack to hate y'all. I was like, wow, this is really dark.
Go ahead.
No, go read the letters. We love everyone. My brother's included in everyone. Go ahead.
We got an email from Seth Heasley.
Hey, what's up, Seth?
Hey guys, I recently did a podcast episode on the novel Planet of the Apes.
Nice.
And we touched briefly on the movies. One of my listeners chimed in that you guys had a great discussion of Conquest of the Planet of the Apes, and she was so right. I never thought of the movie as a black movie, owing to being an oblivious white dude, probably. But I really enjoyed...
Plus, you didn't really want to think about apes and black people at the same time because
No.
you were raised well.
But I really enjoyed your breakdown of the series and the movie. Though I have to admit, I like Escape from the Planet of the Apes better than you evidently do. I also cannot agree that The Last Dragon is a bad movie. I watched it on repeat in the 80s. Well, now your opinions are suspect. I can't continue with this email. No. Look at this. I'd love to have either of you on my podcast if you're up for it. The initial premise of my show was to read all the winners of the Hugo Award for Best Novel, which is the science fiction award.
Yeah,
right?
absolutely.
With a different guest every time. But at this point, I've run out of winners. So now I've compiled a more or less endless list of award winners and books that I want to cover that maybe didn't win an award. I also like to talk to interesting people about science fiction, so you don't have to feel compelled to pick a book unless it's something that you're interested in.
Absolutely.
Well, thank you, Seth. We appreciate that, and we will be following up.
Yeah, absolutely.
We would love to appear on the Hugo's There podcast. I like that little pun.
Yeah, very nice. Very nice.
Nice. So you can go to hugospodcast.com. We'll give them a free plug. All right.
All right. Excellent.
All right. So Seth will
thank you, Seth.
We will be in touch. Oh, there you go. All right. We also got an email from Miss Makiba.
Hey, Ms. Makiba.
Good evening, Len and Vincent. Though the message be brief, the gratitude expressed herein is deeply felt.
Nice.
Thank you, gentlemen, so much for my media care package. She won the our final, the final top 5 bingo ever.
Yes.
And we sent out the DVDs that she won.
Excellent. Glad it got there.
I absolutely love nerding out on DVD commentaries and cannot tell you how far over the moon the underground commentary from Misha Green had sent me. Oh, that's cool.
Interesting.
Yeah.
That's good to hear.
I realized that while I posted a thank you via Instagram, I had not contacted y'all directly to express my an appreciation. So in parting, I'll say, see you when it's time to meet again.
Aw, our pleasure, Miss Makiba.
It's indeed our pleasure. Thank you. And I'm glad you are enjoying the DVDs. And it would not be an episode of the Micheaux Mission if we did not continue the ongoing commentary from Michael Sykes.
Hey, what's up, Michael?
Hey, Len and Vincent. Yes, I am watching this in real time. I just listened to y'all review on the 2000 movie Next High Day. Oops, I'm sorry, Next Friday.
Yes.
This movie is off feeling. I remember watching this movie when I was 10 years old, when it came out in January of 2000. Well, hey, talk to your parents. That should have been a note that this was a horrible movie.
Yeah.
I rewatched the movie yesterday, and Mike Epps was not funny in this movie. He didn't even make me laugh. No one thing made me laugh. Well, I take that back. Pinky, played by Clifton Powell, made me laugh.
Everybody loves Pinky.
Yes, everybody loved Pinky. And everybody loves Clifton Powell, very underutilized actor. Other than that, this movie should be High Day because all they do is smoke weed, get high, and do dumbish things. Were they high when they were writing this movie? The movie had a way of making weed like spinach. Ice Cube is Popeye and the weed is spinach, and this is what made him the superhero of this movie. By the way, Len and Vincent, when Bobby Brown got replaced by Johnny Gill, it felt like how the Three Stooges replaced Curly with Shemp.
Oh,
still love Johnny Gill.
Don't do that to
Johnny Gill's 1990 album better than Ralph Tresvant's 1990 album. However,
you about to summon Toya Haynes.
Toya Haynes about to come jumping out of your Instagram.
If you ever get a chance, and I don't know if she's talked about it on her own podcast, her first podcast, the first time I heard. But if you ever get a chance, have Toya give you her theory of the missteps that Ralph made with his solo career. It is fascinating commentary.
Yes, it is.
I think about it every time I hear Ralph Tresvant doing something from Sensitivity. And I think this is exactly what Toya was talking about. Well, thank you, Michael.
Appreciate that, Michael. And appreciate your commentary on Next Friday. A movie that I think we kind of like agreed with didn't really Just it didn't work.
Yeah.
It didn't work at all.
I think that's when we both decided, or at least I said, we were really interested in watching Three Strikes. Because DJ Pooh didn't help write next Friday.
Right.
And we wondered whether or not DJ Pooh was the missing
ingredient along with Chris Tucker.
Oh, of course, Chris Tucker, but just on the level of writing. And I know I've never seen Three Strikes.
Me neither.
Yeah, so we were curious about Three Strikes and couldn't find it.
Yeah, I think that
like it wasn't streaming. And
was it that we couldn't find it, or I think it may have got mixed up in like some scheduling things.
No, we tried
No?
to. We
Really?
had actually scheduled it.
Oh,
And then we couldn't put our fingers on it.
so then what do we do? Who knows?
I don't know. Oh, I think that's when we did I Got the Hookup.
Okay. Okay. Well, makes sense.
So there you go.
All right.
All right.
Well, thank you for all of your emails, ladies and gentlemen. If you
Yes.
want to contact the Micheaux Mission, please feel free to send us an email at micheauxmission@gmail.com. That's MICHEAUXMISSION @gmail.com. Or if you like, you can always leave us a voicemail. 215-867-9666. Let me say that again. 215-867-9666. Feel free. Leave us a voicemail. It'll be played on air. And tell Vince and Len what's on your mind.
Well, you're really holding on to this. Really holding on to this voicemail thing, huh? This is your thing?
I think it's a cool feature.
I think it's a cool feature.
When we get it in, I think it's
we-
nice to hear the
it's nice
voicemail.
to-
And
that voicemail.
yeah.
All right.
Aren't you sometimes curious about what our fans sound like?
Okay.
Like some of our more, like our fans.
You know, the missionaries.
The missionaries, yeah.
I mean, I guess.
So yeah, I think it's another way of getting in touch.
Get your voice. All right. Okay.
All right. We're moving on.
Yeah.
In commemoration of Doc 2 School, we're making one slight change to the Micheaux Mission for September's. We are going to stick a pin in the top 5 for September, and we're going to do a little bit of documentary work of our own.
Okay.
Okay. And in this September, in our inaugural Doc 2 School, we're going to pay homage, probably really for the first time here on the mission, or certainly the first time in a little bit, pay homage to the fact that 2023 is the 50th birthday.
That's right.
Of hip hop.
That's right.
Right? I think it actually turned 50 in August.
Right.
Right? So in commemoration of that, we are going to take the years of the documentaries that we are going to be covering this month. And then not only are we going to look at what happened in hip hop that year, but in true documentary form, we're going to look more specifically what happened in September of those years.
Oh, okay. A lot of specificity.
A lot of specificity.
Yeah, so this is September of 1990. 1990. That's probably a good month.
Well, we shall see.
All right.
We're going to start with, and Dylan is following me behind the boards with number 5, which is straight from the first magazine, the first really true magazine chronicling hip hop.
Okay.
And that was The Source.
Sure.
I mean, there were other kind of like, pop fan hip hop books like Right On and things like that. But The Source was The Source.
Right.
It was the source for everything hip hop. And straight from The Source, September issue of 1990. The number 1 rap single at that time was The Streets of New York by Kool G Rap and DJ Polo.
That's good stuff right there.
That is very, very good.
That is rock solid hip hop right there.
That is rock. It actually surprised me because I'm a Kool G Rap and Polo fan.
Sure.
But I never realized that they even rose to like got to number one on any list. Like Cool G Rap was definitely like the rapper's rapper.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But I didn't think that he was so ubiquitous that he would rise to the
Well,
top like
I,
that.
I think you said it though. Like it was number one in the Source.
In the Source.
Which
And that's
in 1990, the Source was very inside baseball,
very, very much inside
and
baseball.
very New York centric.
Very, you know what?
So that doesn't surprise me at all, actually.
That's very interesting that you point that out, that
Yeah.
it was New York centric, because I thought about that in rounding out the top 5 singles. Right under Cool G Rap, The Streets of New York, was 100 Miles and Running from NWA.
Yeah.
And you have to figure that that probably just came out at
Yeah.
that moment, because that quickly rises to number one on a lot of charts.
Yeah, yeah. Post Ice Cube.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Number 3, Material Love by Boogie Down Productions.
Nice.
Right? Number
Now wait, is that Love's Gonna Get You? Is Material Love and Love's Gonna Get You the same song?
Yes.
Oh, I love, I quote that all the time. I quote Material Love like once every couple of weeks.
I think it now I'm trying to think. Is it the exact same song?
Damon, I'm asking you real time. Is Material Love and Love Was Gonna Get You, is that the same song?
Do you really want to just ask one fan? Don't you want to ask all of the missionaries?
Because I know my brother would know. Like, I don't know who else would know.
Deborah Battle would know.
Well, okay, Damon and Deborah Battle.
Farrell Blackwell probably knows.
You know what? Let's just open it up.
That's what I'm
Can
saying.
someone tell us in real
Just
time?
talk to
Is
all of the
Material
missionaries.
Love and Love Gonna Get You? Is that the same song? Love's Gonna Get You? It's got to be the same song.
See, but I'm not sure, because you know how sometimes like the title is like slightly different.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So sometimes you can't really.
Pretty sure it's the same song, but at least once a month something will happen. I'll find an extra $20 bill. You know how like you get paid every other week, and like it's a 5th week in a month, and it's an extra paycheck, something. And I always say, now there's steak with the beans and rice.
There you go. All right.
Damon Williams, same song. Yeah. Oh yeah, Love's Go. That Material. Oh yeah, that's good hip hop right there.
Well, this is all good hip hop so far. Number 4, another single that it just released. Bonita Applebum,
Oh, you got to put me on.
Tribe Called Quest.
Oh.
Yeah, I know you would.
What is this? This is like the third, because this is 1990.
Yes.
So this is like the third single, maybe?
Yes.
Changed my life.
Yes.
Album changed my life.
Yes. This was the only single that received the equivalent of 5 mics in the Source that month. They weren't giving out mics at that time. It was just records, but it got 5.
Perfect song.
And number 5, rounding out the rap singles, was In the Ghetto by Eric B. and Rakim.
God damn. See, that's why I can't mess with these young people. Just them 5 songs, and that's just in September.
It's just September.
And that's just 5 songs.
I know.
Oh, man. Hip-hop, man.
Hip hop. Number 4.
Okay.
Number 4 is the top rap LPs.
Okay.
Top
All right.
rap albums.
Okay. Okay. What we got in 1990 September?
Number 1.
Number 1?
Boogie Down Productions with Edutainment.
Edutainment. That's right.
Which featured the single Material
Love. Love's Gonna Get You. That's right.
Rounding out the top 5, you have Cool G Rap and Polo, Wanted Dead or Alive.
Okay.
Philadelphia shows up live from Act Nicholas Land.
Oh,
3 times dope.
3 times dope. The Act
3
Nicholas. The Act Nicholas one.
The greatest man alive. Yes. Yes. One of the most slept on hip hop
Did
groups
he have
of all time.
Gonna Be before Bobby Brown?
Ooh, was it before Bobby? I mean, if it was before Bobby, it wasn't much before.
The Act Nicholas one. Very nice.
Yes.
Oh yeah, this is pure inside baseball right here. Go ahead. What else?
Number 4, America's Most Wanted, Ice Cube's solo.
Yeah. With the 3 Ks in America.
Yes, that's right. And rounding out the top 5 is Let the Rhythm Hit 'Em, Eric B. and Rakim.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah.
All right. So
Not as good as Paid in Full, but nothing was good as Paid in Full.
That's very true.
Yeah.
That is very, very true.
Very nice.
All right. Continuing our roundup through September of 1990.
It's a good month, man.
It was a good month. At number 3, premiering in September of 1990. Philadelphia shows up again.
Okay. Fresh Prince of Bel-Air?
The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air.
Wow.
Debuts on NBC. This show starred Will Smith, also known as the Fresh Prince, as portraying the character Will Smith, who relocates from working class community in Philadelphia to live with his wealthy relatives in Bel-Air.
Wow.
The series was loosely based on the life of music industry executive Benny Medina.
That's right.
And was executive produced by Quincy Jones.
That's right. Got in one little fight and his mom got scared.
So you're moving with your
auntie and uncle to Bel-Air.
There you go.
That's right.
So,
very nice.
Yeah, the Fresh Prince. And it now it was of course, it goes without saying. It was a cultural touchstone.
Yeah, oh yeah, no doubt.
The second it dropped. What a lot of people don't remember is that as much as it was great that Will Smith got this shot, this was his second bite at the apple.
Yes.
He had already had, like, he and Jazzy Jeff had already blown up a little bit, and by Will's own admission, blew his money.
Yeah, from parents just don't understand.
Yes.
Yeah.
He kind of like blew his load a little bit.
Yeah.
And then he gets the second bite of the apple being cast in this TV show, and the sky is the limit.
Yeah.
From there.
Absolutely.
And then also what this foretells is the future of hip hop artists becoming TV stars. Because soon following in his wake, you had LL Cool J.
In the house.
You had Queen Latifah.
In Living Single.
You had so many others come following in his wake. But it all started with the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air and Will Smith in like a character that was made for him. I mean, it's his name.
Yeah.
But you got to say, the man took it and ran with it.
Took it and ran with it. Yeah.
Loved it.
Good month.
Great month, right?
Yeah.
Great month. But we're not done.
What else we got?
Because also dropping in the month of September, and the number 2 on our countdown, is an album. It is the 4th studio album of this artist, yet the second it drops, it is instantly classic.
And that is?
And it's arguably one of the 10 greatest solo albums of all time.
Okay.
LL Cool J.
Yeah.
Mama Said Knock You Out.
Mama said, don't call it a comeback.
He been here for years. This album produced by Marley Marl, recorded at, of course, his House of Hits, featured the hit single Mama Said Knock You Out.
Mama Said Knock You Out.
Also featured the Boomin' System, Around the Way Girl, 6 Minute of Pleasure, certified double platinum. And according to Yahoo Music's Frank Meyer, Mama Said Knock You Out seemed to set the world on fire in 1990, helped by the hit title track and LL Cool J's sweaty performance on MTV Unplugged.
I remember that.
Yes.
Yeah.
And where he absolutely crushed it, man. And LL would go on to win the Best Rap Solo Performance at the Grammy Awards that year.
It's fascinating so far that that 1990 is this moment where you still have this split where, you know, you talked about the 5 singles and the 5 albums from The Source. And every single one, like, those were very much sort of MCs and like hip hop fan driven successes.
Yes.
But then the same month you have Will Smith beginning what is going to be his journey. And LL Cool J drops an album that isn't in those top 5, but LL Cool J is at a point in his career where he really cemented his status as an icon and arguably the GOAT with Mama Said Knock You Out. And then, like, as you said, he very, soon after this follows Will Smith's path into the mainstream. But it's so interesting you can have these two kind of these two facets of hip hop at the same time in this September of 1990.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what else we got? It's a fascinating month.
Speaking of facets of hip hop and the mainstream, September of 1990 also sees the major label debut studio album of Vanilla Ice.
Yeah.
To the Extreme.
Yeah.
Which contains the massive single
Ice Ice Baby.
Ice Ice
Yeah.
Baby. The album was met with lukewarm reviews, with some critics praising Ice's ability and showmanship and others giving it a knock for simplistic lyrics and comparison with fellow rapper MC Hammer,
right,
who had released another studio album earlier in the year. The album also sparked controversy due to the unlicensed samples included on the album, including Under Pressure by David Bowie and Queen, that of which were later settled out of court. Despite this, To the Extreme appeared at the top of the U.S. Billboard 200 album charts for 16 consecutive weeks and was certified 7 times platinum, with the lead single being the first rap single to top the Billboard Hot 100. The album was certified platinum in Canada, Australia, and the United Kingdom, selling over 15 million copies, and Ice was selected as the opening act of MC Hammer's 1990 tour and later embarked on his own To the Extreme World Tour, performing in Northern America, Malaysia, Europe, Singapore, Australia, and then later Latin America.
I believe it's apocryphal. I don't believe it's ever been sourced.
Okay.
But what I've always heard is that the Colonel, talking about Elvis, said that if I can find me a white boy who sings like a black man, but in the version I've heard, he didn't use the term black man.
That sounds about right.
I could make a fortune. And that's always been the formula.
Yep.
If you can find you a white man that sings like a black man, and you may or may not use the term black man, you can make a fortune.
There you go.
So,
and that's
my favorite memory of Vanilla Ice. So, have you ever seen clips of Vanilla Ice try to explain the difference between Ice Ice Baby and Under Pressure?
No.
Where he goes, Ice Ice Baby is doom 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 doo doom 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 doo doom doom, but Under Pressure is doom 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 doo doom 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 doo doom doom, and he does it with a straight face. And it's like, wow. Lean into it. But as you said, it was settled out of court.
Yeah.
Yeah? Good old Vanilla Ice. Good old Vanilla Ice.
Yeah. Well, there you go. So that is our trip through September of 1990 in hip hop.
Good month. Good month.
That was a good month, right?
Good month. All right.
All right. Let's keep it moving, ladies and gentlemen.
We're going to got a lot to talk about tonight.
Change some things, but some things remain the same.
Yes.
And that means it is time for 6 Degrees of D'Urville Martin.
That's the key. Well, you'd be surprised what a person can do with just a sense of touch and a sense of sound.
6 Degrees of D'Urville Martin, ladies and gentlemen, where I give Vincent 2 actors and he has to connect them in 6 movies or less to that one-man ballroom house himself.
The House of Dervell.
The House of
The
Dervell.
House of Dervell. Believe he walked the. I think he walked the runway. Dervell, 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 Dervell. The category is Dervell Martin.
He would. He certainly would. All right. And this kind of a theme.
Kind of a theme.
With our review of
Okay.
Paris is Burning tonight. These are two openly gay actors
Openly gay actors. Okay. Who
in
we got?
Hollywood. Number one,
Number one.
in 6 movies or less, connect Dervell Martin to.
Two.
It's going to be a hard one.
Okay.
Titus Burgess.
Titus Burgess. See, the problem with Titus Burgess,
He has been in films.
it has to be super recently.
Well, fairly recently, but films that you have seen.
What in the world was Titus Burgess in?
One film that I know you've seen and one film you may have seen.
Titus Burgess in a film.
Mm-hmm. And the film, if I gave you one of the films, it would be a slam dunk. You'd get it.
Give me the other film then.
All
I
right,
honestly didn't know he had been in movies.
So I'll give you the other one. The other one is from 2021.
Yeah.
He was in Respect.
The Aretha Franklin movie? Mm-hmm. Okay. That's the one with Marlon Wayans and Jennifer Hudson.
Yes,
Okay. Jennifer Hudson's the easiest way.
of course.
But let's do Marlon Wayans.
He's still kind of easy.
He's also easy, and we got a lot to do. So we'll just do Jennifer Hudson, and Dervell Martin is in, or maybe we'll go no. Yeah, Dervell Martin is in The Final Come Down with Billy D. Williams. Billy D. Williams is in Bingo Long and his Traveling All-Stars, the Road Kings with Richard Pryor, who is in Harlem Nights with Eddie Murphy, who's in Dreamgirls with Jennifer Hudson, who's in Respect with Titus Burgess.
Very good.
What else is he in?
Well, first of all, in Respect, Titus Burgess plays James Cleveland.
Wow.
In that movie. Yeah, I was surprised by
That's
that.
quite a bit of casting.
All right.
Yeah.
He was also in Dolomite Is My Name.
He sure is in Dolomite Is My Name. And I would have used around the same path because I would have went to Eddie Murphy.
Right.
I forgot he was in Dolomite Is My Name. Okay. All right. Titus.
There you go.
I like Titus Burgess.
I do
Yeah.
like him as well. All right. Next up,
Next up.
in 6 movies or less,
Uh-huh.
connect Dervell Martin to, and this one will be easy,
Okay.
Coleman Domingo.
Oh, Coleman Domingo.
Yes.
Well, you know what I'm going to use for that damn Coleman Domingo because, okay, how am I going? Because I know exactly where I'm going with Coleman Domingo.
All right. Feel free to go there. Coleman Domingo is set to show up.
I'm gonna do this quick because I might mess something up. Because Dervell Martin is in Five on a Black Hand Side with Dick Anthony Williams. Dick Anthony Williams is in Mo Better Blues with Cinda Williams. Cinda Williams is in One False Move with Michael Beach. And Michael Beach, I believe that's Michael Beach, who's in If Beale Street Could Talk with Coleman Domingo.
Is he in?
Is that Michael Beach that plays? Because Coleman Domingo plays one of the characters' fathers.
Yeah.
And then I think that's Michael Beach who plays the other father. But double check. That might be wrong.
I'm gonna check now. Yes,
That's Michael Beach.
Yep.
Yeah, because Coleman Domingo blew me away in If Beale Street Could Talk.
Yeah. I mean, well, Coleman Domingo
is a beast.
He's a beast.
Is just a monster.
Yeah, he's going to be seen coming up soon in the biopic on Bayard Rustin.
Oh, yeah.
Rustin.
Oh, yeah.
I'm looking forward to that.
Love Coleman Domingo. There's a part in when If Beale Street Could Talk, that's the greatest black father moment that I've ever seen on film. Like when he and his because they need to remember when the son goes to jail and Coleman Domingo and Michael Beach's character at the bar.
Yes.
And they're commiserating with one another. And Coleman Domingo basically says, as black men and as black fathers, we never have enough money. We never have, but we still we get it done because we're fathers. So finish your drink and let's get this shit done. And I said, boy, if that's not an avatar for every black father I've ever met and the black father I aspire to be. Love Coleman Domingo. Yeah, that's a good one.
All right.
And if you've not seen If Beale Street Could Talk, see If Beale. I think it gets lost in the sauce in the Barry Jenkins discussions.
Yeah. And I also think that if you've talked to people about If Beale Street Could Talk, I can see people saying, "Oh, it's a good movie."
It's heavy.
It's heavy.
It's tough.
And that might make you
tough.
shy away from it.
It's tough, but
it rewards.
My God, Regina King. I mean, the cast.
Brian Tyree Henry just shows up in the movie.
Right. Oh my God, what a movie. Yeah. All right.
Yeah, man.
All right.
Crazy. And now we're not even talking about the leads, Kiki Lane and Stephen James.
Oh yeah.
In that movie, who are phenomenal. Anyway.
Oh yeah.
Great movie. But well done. And yes, Coleman Domingo, I do realize, is from Philadelphia.
It's not a girl in that.
Tiana Paris.
That's right. Oh my God, the cast.
Oh, yeah, man. I know.
A ridiculous film.
It is. And yes, I was saying I do realize that he is
Yeah, Philly guy.
from Philly. Yeah. I actually saw him. He first came on my radar, even though I probably saw him before. I see in the chat somebody saw him in Passing Strange. I did see him in Passing Strange. I love Passing Strange. I love musicals. All right, look. I loved him in Passing Strange, and then I'm about to say another fucking musical. I saw him in a short. There was a short run of the Scottsboro Boys.
Okay.
Here in Philadelphia.
Oh, I remember that was here. Yeah.
And, oh my God, it was absolutely amazing.
Okay. Yeah, I missed that. Sorry, I missed that.
Yeah.
All right.
I love musicals,
man. Oh, yes, you do.
I do. See, the Micheaux mission. It changes lives.
It changes.
It changed my life.
It changed my life.
It did.
There you go.
All right.
All right.
All right. We're going to keep this train moving, ladies and gentlemen. It's time to get into our review of Paris is Burning. Paris is Burning, a 1990 American documentary directed by Jeannie Livingston. Filmed in the mid to late 1980s, it chronicles the ball culture of New York City and the African American, Latino, gay, and transgender communities involved in it. Critics consider this film to be an invaluable documentary of the end of the golden age of New York City drag balls and a thoughtful exploration of race, class, gender, and sexuality in America. So much so that in 2016, this film was selected for preservation in the United States National Film Registry by the Library of Congress as being culturally, historically, and aesthetically significant. And the title comes from the Paris is Burning ball held annually by artist Paris Dupree, who actually appears in this documentary that kicks off our Doc to School feature here on the Micheaux Mission. And it makes sense for our in-house academic himself, Vincent Williams. What say you of Paris is Burning?
I think Paris is Burning is an example of a film that we have grappled with occasionally over our time here on the mission, where before you get to the film, you almost have to chip away at all of the history and everything that has accumulated around it.
Right.
Since it came out. And it's not hyperbole to say that the cultural footprint that this documentary has left continues to grow bigger and bigger, whether we are talking about the style and the dress and the makeup, whether we are talking about the language, if you've ever heard anyone say yes queen, or you get red or shade, or even the empire that someone like RuPaul has built over the last 20 years. So much of it, or even, we're in the midst of Beyonce's already legendary tour. And there's so much of the ball culture and Black and Hispanic gay culture that has been sort of intertwined in the Renaissance era of Beyonce, which, to her credit, she has been very vocal about crediting where it comes from.
Where her, inspiration.
All of it for the general audience, when we talk about the mainstreaming, and, I didn't even mention something like Pose, the television show Pose, which, while never was really a commercial hit, was always a critical darling. Gave us Billy Porter and all of the great actors and actresses on this show,
and actually pulled some of their storylines, kind of massaged.
We certainly will. We certainly will talk about that. But it's a straight line, to Paris is Burning, and you have to acknowledge that, and certainly that has to be part of the conversation when we talk about its legacy.
Right.
This is also a documentary that has been controversial from the time it came out, whether we are talking about the power dynamic of the filmmaker Jenny Livingston, who was a 23-year-old white lesbian photographer who then made this film, and this power dynamic between her documenting this ball culture of Black and Latino poor, because I think the economics of it, you cannot divorce from any critique of it. These are poor people. And what that looks like, and almost from the beginning, whether we were talking about people like mother of the House of LaBeija, Pepper LaBeija, and other participants who questioned how much money was made, how much money went out, so on or so forth, all the way up to as recently as, I believe, 2015, where in Brooklyn they had a showing of Paris is Burning, and then they had a panel discussion afterwards, and initially no one was on the panel but white people, including Jenny Livingston.
Wow.
So that, as would oftentimes happen, and we kind of joked about it with Vanilla Ice and Elvis, when you have a cultural contribution from Black people, frankly, and it becomes mainstreamed, part of the mainstreaming is this this sort of whitewashing.
Of course.
If you're not careful.
Of course. Rewriting the narrative.
And then you know, all of this, I think, in a lot of ways is personified by Bell Hooks's famous critique of Paris is Burning. She wrote an essay, Is Paris Burning? And she talked about the fact that she was uncomfortable with basically this relationship between what she viewed as a white middle class audience looking at these poor black and brown, gay and trans men and women. Mm-hmm. And she saw it as a bit of spectacle where what we are really viewing is ritual. And she talked about it so much. I actually wrote it down. It's a great quote because Bell Hooks, like me paraphrasing Bell Hooks, like, why am I going to paraphrase somebody who's like a million times smarter than me? And she wrote it down, and I wrote, and she says, ritual is that ceremonial that carries with it meaning and significance beyond what appears, while spectacle functions primarily as entertaining dramatic display. Mm-hmm. So in other words, if you are from outside of the community looking at this, you just see spectacle.
Yeah.
You just see people doing stuff, and there's so much more going on inside of it. And she actually talks about, as an example, which you see if you've ever been to Harlem on a Sunday, and you see tourists going in and out of black churches.
Really?
Yeah. It's actually really disturbing.
That's crazy.
Yeah. But that's what Bell Hooks critiqued this. And I think you have to acknowledge this. Like you have to say this is there. But after you peel all this away.
Right. Okay.
You and I watch these films. We do our due diligence, we research, we think about it, we are sober-minded. I will say, even when we talk about the power dynamic between an audience and this film, most of the time you and I are sitting in very comfortable positions as middle-class heterosexual black men watching black stuff.
Right.
But this is a documentary about, again, impoverished gay and trans men and women. And so that, you know, I'll just say for me, everything that I'm saying, if someone says that I have a blind spot or I miss something, I acknowledge that. Like, that's just my blind spot of privilege, that I don't know these people's lives intimately. Right. I can just watch it. Having said that, I think this is a documentary that stands the test of time. As you mentioned, you joked about me being an academic. I've taught this documentary. I've seen this documentary. I remember when it came out. And today is probably the first time I've watched it from beginning to end. Probably 3 years.
Okay.
And I still love this documentary. I think the accusations of spectacle you understand, because the ball scenes are very affecting.
Yes.
And the dancers and the participants, and you have the different categories with different people trying, whether we're talking about military realness or going, or where people will dress up in military outfits or evening wear, and people would wear evening wear, and so on and so forth. And there is something to that. But I think the credit I give Jenny Livingston is through the voices of people like Pepper LaBeija, who is the mother of the House of LaBeija, and Dorian Corey, who is an older queen.
Yes.
Older trans woman, older queen. They really provide insight into what these categories mean and what they say to us. As you mentioned, the critique everyone says, like the commentary on race, the fact that these participants see the way that whiteness is situated, that whiteness is situated as this ideal that you go towards. Whether we're talking about class, where you know, as many of
A
the
lot of talk about class.
as many of the participants say, this isn't a matter of me wanting to be middle class. This is a matter of me wanting this opulence,
Yes.
wanting these riches, which really reflects this kind of almost, you know, predatory capitalism that we all live inside of. Like we talked before this review about these expensive toys, basically. But this is all just a response to the fact that many of us have jobs that now we can afford this stuff. But it's just pure capitalism and predatory stuff that they're talking about in this film. Or whether we're talking, so we did, I said race, class, gender. The bottom line is the way we talk about manhood, the way we talk about womanhood,
Yes.
the way we define this
Yes.
is a costume. We are taught to wear these costumes. We wear these clothes. We hold our hands in a certain way. We get our hair cut. We carry ourselves, and this is a costume that is taught to us
Yeah.
primarily from our parents, certainly from our community, this, that, and other, but it's not innate. And so much about the balls are these men and women putting on these costumes and showing you that they are costumes. And then I have to say, just gender-wise, there is a level of nuance and sophistication in the way that this documentary discusses gender that I think we're just catching up with.
Oh, very much so.
Where
It's ahead of its time in that way.
you have gay men. You have gay men who wear women's clothing. You have trans women who have had surgery. You have trans women who have not had surgery. And each of them are represented in a way where they speak for themselves. So that I land on resisting spectacle, because what you see, there's so much more there within the documentary. Like I think you can bring something to the documentary and do like we did and look up all this stuff and this, that, and the other. But I'm always impressed by the commentary within the documentary on all of these issues. And from Willie Ninja to you know, Pepper LaBeija, to Octavia, to Venus Extravaganza, you get to know these people as people.
Yes.
So that there is no stereotype, there is no caricature. I think any critique that you have about the phenomenon with Paris is Burning, where people kind of look at it as spectacle, people, you know, like we talk about, you know, I always say all the time, like National Geographic porn. Like you just sort of, you know, look at the strange people doing the strange stuff. I think that is more reflection of audience
Yeah.
than this work itself.
Right.
So that I think this documentary is a triumph.
Yeah, it's interesting that you pulled Willie Ninja's name, who is famously a dancer on the circuit. Who, I don't know, he didn't originate voguing, but he is known for his Vogue technique. So much so that by the end of the documentary, which it begins in 1987 and ends in 1989. His star has risen, and he actually is now a well-known, popular choreographer the world over, because of his feats. But it's interesting that you pulled his name alongside Pepper LaBeija.
Yeah.
Because Willie Ninja is a gay man who goes to the ball and dances and vogues and things like that. But he presents as a man. Pepper LaBeija presents and addresses, you know, himself as a man, if I remember correctly. But he does presents as a woman
At the balls.
at the balls,
Right, when he walks.
right when he walks. And watching this, and this was my first time seeing the documentary. I'd always known of the documentary. I knew the history of the documentary, but never took the time to sit down and watch it. But watching the documentary, one of the things that hit me immediately was that in those two characters, and in probably a couple others, but it really hit me with those two characters, that they were black men first, and then they are who they are, right? But they were men. They called themselves, they saw themselves as men. They presented as men, but they presented it in their way. And the first thing that hit me was that, you know, they are no less a man than me or anyone else. You know, they are no different. This is just another, you know, iteration of it, right? And I was actually really, like, as that hit me, I wasn't sure how I felt about it hitting me. I appreciated it. And I felt that it was hitting me in the right way. But I didn't know if I had the vocabulary to actually express how I felt about that. But I was really, like, taken in by their story. I was involved in it, and they became kind of like my surrogates into this documentary. I wanted to see how their story played out. And you know, I didn't look at myself as I certainly get the whole idea of watching this from a spectacle point of view, but to me, I was immediately hit with just, oh wow, I am fortunate that I have this window into this other world that I for in any other way would have not have known. Right? I would have never sought this out. And I'm glad that I did see it. I appreciate the way that it is presented to me, because I didn't think that it was presented to me with any type of bias, any type of way. And I also appreciated it from the standpoint of being a black guy who considers himself a geek, and I've never been shy about going into any type of room that I want, but I recognize that there are, and because I've spoken to them, that black people, men, women, who can see themselves as geeks, who sometimes feel hesitant about going into certain rooms, right? And are always looking for, you know, a safe space where they can just, you know, freely be, right? So me having this window into this world where these men and these women were just free and being themselves, and excelling in it, and able to express it to the height of whatever their mind allowed them to, you know, as far as in fantasy and an expansion of display and thought. I felt so happy that they were able to do that. Like, and I felt, and for that, I felt privileged that I could then see them expressing so much joy, so much camaraderie, so much expression and freedom and liberation out there on the floor, and community.
Yes.
And it really was just a joyous thing to behold. and then the film smartly uses that to now introduce you to the vocabulary of the ball culture, you know, with between the different categories, to the language. Like, who knew that throwing shade came from ball culture? I didn't know. It was just something I picked up in the lexicon to being a black guy.
Right.
This is where it started. Who knew? I knew of voguing. I didn't really know the origin of it. I didn't know that the origin of it actually had to do with Vogue magazine and the poses and the images that you saw there. I didn't know that. I probably, if I took the moment to think about it, I could have saw that. I love learning that. And then wisely and smartly, this film then starts to introduce the different characters. You know, it touches on Willie Ninja, it touches on Pepper LaBeija, but you hit on two that it really focuses on: Octavia St. Laurent and Venus Extravaganza. And those are, in many ways, two sides of the same coin, telling similar stories that go different places. And the journey that you go on through alongside with both of these women is really, it's really interesting. It's thought-provoking. It's a bit tragic. It's a bit sad. But it's mesmerizing, and you can't take your eyes off of it.
Well, I think the two of them, and for people who haven't seen this, Venus Extravaganza and Octavia St. Laurent are framed in the film, and in my opinion as well, as the two trans women who really exhibit the most what they would call realness.
Yeah.
And both of them, I think, are literally transgressive characters. Where Venus Extravaganza, who part of her life is she does sex work, and she kind of dances around it, but she says it, and you get the sense that some of the sex work that she engages in, either her customers don't initially know, or they pretend they don't know.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, as time has gone on, we now know that trans women who engage in sex work are victim to a disproportionate amount of violence.
Yes.
Because of this. And I don't think it's too much to fold her tragic death. You know, she's murdered. And within the documentary, we know that she's murdered under that. Whereas Octavia St. Laurent, you know, as we said, so much of the ball culture is, like you said, voguing is named after Vogue magazine, and it's all about high fashion and this, that, and the other. But Octavia St. Laurent looks like this image of a woman, so that you see by the end of the documentary, she has started to make moves into modeling.
Yeah. Yeah.
Into actual factual modeling. And I agree with you. And there's this wonderful sequence where they go back and forth between the two, talking about what they want. And their sort of dreams and hopes and dreams. And I do think it does sort of speak to this danger of moving out of this ball world and into
which provides a level of comfort.
It provides comfort. It provides community,
safety,
with numbers, a semblance of safety.
Yes.
But when you move out of that world, now and I have to say that when you couple it with what happens to Venus Extravaganza and she's murdered, I found myself worried.
Yeah.
Like when Octavia St. Laurent was at the fashion show with the other models, and you know,
kind of like a tryout,
right? The tryout, and you're pulling for her because she's beautiful.
Yes.
Like you 100% understand why she's there, but at the same time, you're like, watch yourself, sister.
That's right.
So yeah, I agree.
Yeah, it was very one of the reasons why we have always struggled with the idea of reviewing documentaries is because you're looking at it and you're looking at it with a bit of the critical eye of the film itself, just the production of it. And then you're also looking at it, the story of it, right? And then it's, okay, then how well does the documentary do its job?
Right.
In whatever its story it's trying to tell or report, right? But this documentary does what I think a lot of the best documentaries do, in that Jenny Livingston turns on the camera and pretty much lets the participants, the people that are in front of the camera, let them tell their story.
Right.
And because of that, you don't feel that any note that is given is a false note.
Right.
And then it's just left up for your interpretation of it. And so as a film itself, it's well done. It's a 1987, 1989 film. It's well done. It's well edited. It's well shot. Nothing is glamorized in here. So it's almost like, like a fly on the wall in that respect. And then the story that it tells, it does give you the window into this culture, sets up these characters and presents them authentically and with respect.
Yes.
I loved the almost framing that she uses Dorian Corey for throughout the film, because Dorian, while we do see her sometimes at the ball judging or something like that, for the most part she is just giving a running commentary on ball culture throughout the ages.
Right, because she's the oldest participant.
Yes.
And she
hurls back to the early days
Right.
of drag.
Right.
When it was basically trying to replicate famous stars.
Right.
Of the day.
Right.
On screen.
And that
and some type of
showgirl
heightened
aesthetic.
Exactly.
Like she talks about with the feathers and the thing.
And she is almost like a framing sequence in this, because you just see her at the table just doing her face throughout the whole time. And I thought that was very smartly done. And you even through that, you kind of like fall in love with Dorian,
Of course.
as well. And
Of course.
who not in the course of the movie, but is another tragic tale.
Well, I mean, I guess.
Well, I mean, you could fill them in on that if you want. I see you going there already.
So Dorian Carey, when she dies, and Dorian Carey dies in, I believe, let me get the exact year, because I do think while
she was with us for a little bit,
right? Like, she didn't die as recently as you would think she did. She died. Well, no, she died pretty quickly. She died in 93, but they found a trunk in her house with the body of a man inside who had been in there for like 20 years.
Yeah.
And the prevailing theory is that this was a lover. This was someone that there was an argument, and she killed him.
Yeah.
Embalmed the body and put it in a trunk.
That was probably in the room.
It was 100% in the room
when they were
filming it. And yes, every time I watch it,
You're looking for the trunk.
I'm looking in the corner for the trunk with the dead guy.
Well, I now want to rewatch it and see what is the cat sitting on top of.
But knowing that, it does add this heft to her commentary, because the one thing she is adamant about throughout the documentary is that the ball world is fantasy.
Yes.
Because the real world for gay black men and for black trans women is a hard world.
A hard, whole another thing.
And you have to do what you have to do.
Yes.
And it's funny, the very first thing they say, one of the younger members, I don't know if it was Fred Pendarvis or Kim Pendarvis, but there's a quote at the beginning where one of the men says when he was young, his father told him he has 3 strikes against him. Like, as a black man, you have 2. You're black and you're a man. But as a gay black man, you have 3 strikes against you. So you're going to have to be tougher than you think.
Yeah.
Or you have to be, super tough.
Yep.
Which then kind of sets the stage for these are some tough cats, right?
Oh, yeah, man.
Like, these some real tough people right here. So, Dorian Glover, like, as she puts on her makeup and talks, you get the sense this is not no play toy. So knowing that there's a dead body in the room because someone took her for bad makes complete sense.
It does. It does.
Should probably mention there's some pretty funny moments.
Oh my God.
Like there's some pretty funny moments in here too. Like I know we've been having this very serious conversation. It's a hoot.
Oh yeah.
It's a hoot.
Well, you just touched on
Junior LaBeija, who is the commentator. If you've ever seen Pose, the character that Billy Porter plays, Pray Tell,
is basically
this guy.
Yes.
But for real.
Yes.
And he's still alive.
Oh, is he?
Yeah.
I didn't see that. Oh.
He's the best. Because he got jokes.
Oh, he does. Oh, he does. And he keeps that running commentary going nonstop with it. Keep it moving.
Fred Pendarvis.
That's what I was about to say. Fred Pendarvis.
The joy that Fred Pendarvis has about stealing food from Roy Rogers is so infectious.
Dude, it made me want to Roy Rogers so bad.
It made me want to steal food from Roy Rogers.
I wanted a double R bar burger.
Because apparently what makes the food delicious is stealing it.
That's very true.
The joy that he emitted, like you talked about Jenny Livingston being, like all good documentarians, invisible. Mm-hmm. The one time she breaks the camera that I remember, he asked her, apparently she's eating, and he asked her, how much did you pay for that sandwich? And she says $5. And he's like, $5? He said, oh, well, I got your money back. And then launches into this beautiful monologue about the food. And it's just joy.
I know. It was insane.
One thing that I noticed this time, speaking of joy, because you have to kind of acknowledge that all of the joy that you have in 1988, 1989 in New York with these poor black and brown gay and trans women, they are at the heart of they're in the heart of the storm of AIDS.
Oh yeah.
And it is always fascinating to me that AIDS is never mentioned throughout the documentary.
No, it's
except at the end where they have the fundraiser.
Yeah.
But it's not directly addressed as a factor in any of these people's lives.
Well, I wonder if that is because the bulk of this is filmed in 87. Mm-hmm. And while AIDS is certainly a thing there at that time, I didn't look this up. I probably should have looked it up. Like how much how much of AIDS is known
right
at that point,
right,
and how much of it is, if it is a part of their culture, how much of it is, oh, we're going to keep that.
That's what I was going to say. I'm wondering how much of it is because I think at that point we were still calling it the gay cancer and the gay disease. How much of it was they kept that to themselves.
Because by the
I
time
was thinking the exact same
because
thing.
by the time you do see it at the end of the film, it's 1989.
Right.
The world of ball culture is you see it because, like you said, it's at an age benefit, and the world of ball culture has been opened up to the mainstream a little bit by then, which is the starting of the encroachment of it a little bit, and now it's not hard to imagine like AIDS is now probably touched other, it's touched outside of the gay life. So now that's why it's getting the blow up there.
Right.
Yeah, I did bump on that a little bit as well.
Yeah. Yeah. We have sort of jumped around. It's probably worth mentioning for a moment. People are talking about the electroabundance subplot in Pose. So much of the show Pose, which if you've been paying attention, we are big fans of the show Pose. It's one of my favorite shows of the past 10 years. And Pose really is the spiritual child of this documentary.
Yeah. Set not the same era, but
right. It's the
same world.
It's some crossover. It's as we said, electroabundance has a subplot where she has to hide a body, and Janet Mock said that was 100% based on Dorian Clover and what she said.
Dorian Corey.
I'm sorry, Dorian Corey, and what she did with the body.
Right.
But
yeah,
it's a great documentary. I do think I was talking to Wendy about this earlier, just about this dynamic that has emerged, and it's always kind of been part of it, where you do have this documentary about Black and brown people, and the people who talk about it the most are white people. And I said, well, part of that is, as Black people, we need to get more involved in a conversation. Like, we almost need to reclaim this and not let other people be the only ones talking about it. And frankly, I think that's the only way you avoid situations like the one I just talked about in Brooklyn a few years ago. But we have to we have to say, this is part of Blackness. This is part of the culture. This is, like, you would never do a panel on, I don't know, 4 Little Girls or when the levees broke and say, oh, we're going to get New Orleans people, but it's just going to be white New Orleans people. But I'm a big advocate of us watching this documentary.
Well, do you not think that maybe a bit of the reclaiming of it is that, ball culture is certainly still a thing?
Right. And it's been mainstreamed.
But even with the mainstreaming of it, through, to a degree, the dramatization of Pose, through the
RuPaul's Drag Race,
Drag Race, Legendary, that was on Max and things like that. Even through that mainstreaming, perhaps has a reclaiming of it been that despite how more ubiquitous it is out there, it still primarily remains an underground culture, and maybe they've kind of the true representatives of the culture have maybe pulled it back and made it a little bit more self again.
I would hope so. Like, I'm pro gatekeeping. So, like, I would love that. Like, I would love if that was actually the issue. I think, as, just sort of, and I don't really watch I never watch Legendary, and I don't watch, like, RuPaul's Drag Race and all. But, I do have to say, as someone who's read a little bit about this stuff, I do wince when I see this stuff. And frankly, I see white drag queens and white people involved when the ball culture was a direct outgrowth of Black and brown, gay and trans people not being accepted
in that culture,
in white drag
or
space.
at least I'm not going to say they weren't accepted. I think they found that they weren't seeing themselves.
Right.
So
but it was also some good old fashioned American racism involved too.
Okay.
And you know, this sort of almost realignment of it, that it's sort of a deracialized gay thing. But it's not deracialized.
No, not
like
at
this is very specifically black.
Yes.
And you can't deracialize it without taking something very important away from it. But you have to say that.
Yeah.
And you know, unfortunately, the way these things work, the only people who are going to say that are black people. So we have to, you know this is a black doc. You know, well, I mean, frankly, it's what me and you do all the time. That's what we do.
We do.
Like this on the Micheaux mission. This is a black film. We are black people talking about it through the lens of blackness.
That's right.
So,
all right. So it goes without saying.
goes without saying.
You should see Paris is Burning.
You should absolutely watch Paris is Burning.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
And we don't usually do this, and Vince might smack me. He's the teacher here. But if you want to see Paris is Burning, it is not only on YouTube, but it's also on Max, the streaming channel Max.
I'll allow it.
Yeah. I think for the documentary.
Especially since the print on Max. Did you watch it on Max?
I did.
The print is beautiful.
Yeah.
It's been restored and remastered.
Yeah, because
like
it's part of the Criterion collection.
It is actually, and this is the first time I've seen this print. Because I have an old DVD.
Oh, you don't have the Criterion collection?
I don't.
Oh.
Yeah, I don't. I just have, like, I have
the original.
Yeah, like I have an old DVD. But the print is beautiful.
Yeah, because the DVD you have is, I think, is probably just a running of the videotape.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's exactly what I have. So I'll allow it. Yeah. But it is on Max.
It is on Max, and you should see.
And you should see it.
Paris is Burning, ladies and gentlemen. Before we tell you what we're going to be reviewing next week, Doc to School, here on the Micheaux Mission, I invite you all to like, follow, and subscribe to the Micheaux Mission on the social media of your choice, whether it be Instagram, Facebook, the one formerly known as Twitter, at Micheaux Mission. Hit us up on YouTube at Micheaux Mission. Subscribe, hit the bell so you can be notified whenever we have new videos going up. We got a couple of new shorts going up later on tonight, actually. So look for them on our YouTube channel. The Micheaux Mission is also a proud member of The Podglomerate, thepodglomerate.com. Beautiful podcast network. They make podcasts work. The Micheaux Mission is also streamed live here every Tuesday night from Young Junk, Philadelphia's premier video podcast palace. Go to videocontentfactory.com and check out all of the cool studios they have available waiting for your podcast to be filmed. And everyone except this one, because this is ours. That's us. All right. And before you, those Micheaux Mission posters back there, they're painted on. So this is our room.
That's right. You have to get your own poster of the mighty modern all-talking epic of Negro life, The Exile. It's got a real light-skinned man holding on to a real light-skinned woman, and then it's a real light-skinned woman in her underwear in the background.
Can I continue?
Please do. Now everyone wants to see The Exile. You know, it's a mighty modern, all-talking epic of Negro life.
It's an Oscar Micheaux film.
Ha-ha.
There you go. Mm-hmm. I don't even know where I was.
He's like grabbing. He said, "Come on, sweetie, we're gonna be real light-skinned together."
That's not what he says. Now cut that out.
You're real light-skinned. I'm real light-skinned.
I'll slap your hand. Anyway.
Go have some real light-skinned children together. I mean, really, look at the poster. It's like, damn.
That's the drawing. They're not. It's a paint. It's not a photograph. It's an illustration.
I'm just saying. Go ahead. Stay out the sun. I'm sorry. Go ahead. We've been so serious for like an hour. We've been so serious. I felt like Eddie Murphy doing How Can It Be? Oh. I'm sorry. Go ahead. Continue. Please continue.
Next week on the Micheaux Mission, ladies and gentlemen, we are going to be watching a documentary that Vince had selected for us from 2018.
Mm-hmm.
It is a documentary about jazz.
Yes, sir.
Which, is that your favorite genre of music, or is it in fact hip hop?
It is in fact hip hop, but that is closely followed by jazz as informed by hip hop. Like, I like jazz that Pete Rock and Premier,
DJ Premier,
and Madlib, and all of them introduced me to.
Okay. All right. Does that play in any way a part with your choosing of this documentary?
The funny thing is that it doesn't. I just heard really good things about this, and my dad liked Lee Morgan.
Okay.
Yeah.
It is the life of a jazz trumpeter, right? Mm-hmm. Lee Morgan. Mm-hmm. I called him Morgan. Mm-hmm. Next week, here on the Micheaux Mission. Until then, he's Vincent, I'm Len, and in parting we say,
we'll see you when it's time to meet again.